Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Hey, Dorothy, do you remember back in March, we had a couple on who moved to Southern Pines, the Capillaries. Mm-hmm. They had moved down here. They bought a second home in the downtown area of Southern Pines, and it got me thinking. We have so many people moving into Moore County, military, yes, but a lot of non-military purchasing second homes, and we wanted to kind of highlight Pinehurst a little bit today.
Okay.
And an adventure that came with our guests, who are Tom and Felicita Stone, who are coming to us from Miami, from Florida, and we want to talk a little bit about the purchase of their home, some of their dramas, some of their the stories, their motivations. They're not military. They fell in love with Pinehurst, and I was working with Tom for a couple of years prior to them coming here and pulling the trigger. And this time around, as Tom will tell you, there have been many trips. I had the privilege of working with Christian McCarthy, who is a real estate broker at 4 Properties, who was actually a past client of mine on a couple of transactions. And Christian, I have to just ask you for your 2 cents overview. There was some drama, maybe more drama than you ever realized that real estate brokers perhaps go through, because we're always looking at things from afar, but up close, we could have done a soap opera about this transaction in some ways.
Yeah, I guess we could have. Well, one, I was definitely your good luck charm.
You were?
Yes.
Yes. I'm nothing without you. I get that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I learned in this process.
Right.
And I'm really glad I got to experience it.
Yeah. Being new to the real estate business as a broker is one thing, but you're not new to the business in terms of purchasing and selling homes, because you and your husband have done that quite a bit since you've been here, since you moved here from Maryland.
Yes, we have. We've done it twice.
Yeah.
And I was definitely the emotional buyer, as you would say.
Yep.
I sat in your front seat and cried when we were searching for our second home.
Right.
But being on the other side of it was very interesting, because I actually understood what you would say.
The perspective changed.
Completely.
Right.
Completely changed. I understood when you said, like, don't get emotional. I could see why people get emotional, and I could see it from the outside looking in, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, we're going to get into the story today, but there was a lot that was learned. But Tom, I want to say good morning and thanks for coming and doing this.
Thank you. Good morning for inviting me.
You just, you and Felicita just recently closed on a townhouse in Old Town, in the Village. And how long ago did we start the journey? It's been a couple of years.
It's been a couple of years. We first met,
right,
you and I, in 2015.
It was 2015.
But my journey actually to Pinehurst began in 2014. And I discovered Pinehurst a week after the U.S. Open. They had the dual U.S. Open, the men's and the women's.
That's right.
And a week after I came up, there was an advertisement, I believe, on TV. And I wanted to take a golf trip because I'm an avid golfer in Florida,
right,
where our main primary home is at. And Felicia, I believe you went to your home country, I think, of Peru, and so I needed something to do.
And you had never been to Pinehurst?
And I'd never been to Pinehurst, so I decided, well, you were going on vacation, I believe, and I said, well, I'm going to take a little trip, and in 2014, that's when I came.
Right. Felicita, you are originally from Lima, Peru.
I am.
You and Tom have 2 children. You've been married how many years?
24.
24
years.
And is he a good learner? Is he quick?
Finally.
Huh?
Finally, he learned.
You have him trained?
Yeah, he's trained by now.
So you are, I just want to paint a little bit of background. Tom, you retired when you were 46 years old from the Miami Police Department?
The Miami-Dade Police Department, which
Miami-Dade.
is actually the Sheriff's Department in Dade County, Florida.
Okay. And in case anybody was thinking you were from the South, your accent kind of tells us that you're not. Where are you originally from?
Well, originally I was born in Indianapolis.
Okay.
I left there when I was quite young and moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then we...
Sounds like a New York Christian, doesn't he?
Yes.
And my grandparents, they lived in Brooklyn. And we lived out in Long Island, and we would visit them time to time, going into Brooklyn. Then we moved to Rhode Island, the little state of Rhode Island, and then my parents divorced. Mm-hmm. And from Rhode Island, we moved to Florida when I was 13 years old.
Right. And you're both empty nesters now?
We are.
Yeah. You have two children, one in Indiana.
And the other one in Orlando. She's finishing school at the end of the year, and then probably she's going to be moving also to another state. She doesn't know where she's going yet.
Okay. Now you are you're a high-tech executive with a company. You travel globally. You're all over the place.
I do. I have been working as a high-tech executive in the telecom industry, specifically representing different companies, global companies from India, from Europe. Right now I am working with a Swedish company, and I do represent them in all Latin America and the Caribbean market.
So you're moving quite a bit.
I do move a lot, and one of the things that we look when purchasing this home, or when we were planning on buying a second home, was the ability for me to work remotely. And actually we tried it this week, and I am very pleased that I am going to be able to spend some time here, and my professional activities are not going to be compromised.
Well, we had the pleasure of finally meeting you, and when I had first met Tom, Tom and I would get together and we would go out and kind of kick some tires. So a couple of years went by. Christian got her real estate license, fortunately, for all of us.
All of us.
And got a chance to work with both of you. And isn't it amazing how different the genders look at property differently? I mean, her influence. Who do you think drove the bus here?
Felicita.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
are you sure?
In their own ways. Tom had, it depended on what property we looked at, to be honest.
Right.
If we needed to see vision in the property, Felicita definitely saw what we saw. She saw numbers. She wasn't emotional. She got it. Tom, I love you, and I know your personality is New York. You definitely were a little more emotional about it. You couldn't see the vision that Felicita could. But I think it's a man and a woman. That's the difference.
But the most important part is that we were fulfilling one of his dreams, was to live in Pinehurst. That was the most important point that made us decide to come here.
What initially attracted you to Pinehurst? Because I'm from the New York area. I grew up in Brooklyn. And I know what I felt when I first saw it. How did you get on the plan and say, you know what, I'm going to just go up there and investigate this?
Well, like I said, I'm an avid golfer. I wanted to go on a golf trip, and I went on that golf trip. I stayed at the Carolina Hotel.
Right.
And I played 4 of the courses. Now, Pinehurst number 2 and number 4 were actually closed when I came because they were just taking it down from the U.S. Open. So those courses were not open. Right. So I played 4 of the other ones. And just staying at the Carolina, beautiful hotel. I went to the Village, and it's a funny thing because I told Felicia when I call her Felicia or I call her Feli, so I don't call her Felicita.
Just as long as you call her.
I told her. I said after I retire from the police department, I wanted to move to Vermont.
Wow.
New England.
in New England.
Yeah.
And Pinehurst reminded me of a quaint
Mm-hmm.
New England village.
Yeah.
Without the cold weather
That's right.
and the winter time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like a postcard to me when I look at the village.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a strong New England feel here. I
Yes.
could not agree with you more.
Yes.
Being 26 years on the police force and living in an urban area, like many large urban areas, you were completely taken back by how friendly people are here. Almost to a point where you said, I was uncomfortable.
Yes, that's correct. And it's funny from where we come from. I mean, nothing against South Florida and the people in South Florida. We love it there, and that's our home.
Yeah.
That's where our kids were raised.
Yeah.
That's where I worked for many years, and that's where all our friends are.
Yeah.
But it's a distinct difference here
Mm-hmm.
in Pinehurst,
Mhm.
Southern Pines, Moore County,
Yeah.
than it is at back home.
Yeah, it's okay to say that you're a little jaded living in an urban area, and you come here, and it's like everybody kind of loosens their buttons and lets your hair down, and people wave at you. Go, well, why are you saying hello to me? Well, you don't even know me.
That's exactly what I'm experiencing and I'm feeling, and
Yeah,
for me personally, it's I'm not used to that, and it's a little strange for me, you know.
right.
You know, because let's remember where the years that I worked at the police department. You know, you don't see, you know,
Miami
the best.
Miami was a tough place.
Miami is
those
a very
26 years.
Miami is a very tough place. I worked in
Right.
Liberty City. If anybody remembers the history of Liberty City, all the riots that went on back then in
Right.
1980, the Mariel boat lift back in 1980. I came in right after that. So my experience with people down there is it's quite unique, you know. And I'm not saying I had a great career. I loved what I did, but I tell everybody now. They ask me, "What do I do?" I say, "I'm retired," and I say, "No, I am happily retired."
Right.
So
Yeah.
I am very happy to be retired.
Well, you, even though Felicita, you don't play golf,
Not yet.
you saw a lot of what Tom saw in this area, and I thought it kind of caught you by surprise and grew on you.
Definitely. Well, one of the things that he wanted to do since I met him was to have a second home somewhere else, as he was saying.
Yeah.
And when he brought me the second time, he was very smart because he took me to the Carolina Hotel.
Yeah.
And it's a charming hotel. He went to play golf. I went to the spa, and also something that I loved was the fact that there were so many options to eat, and they were not chain restaurants.
Right.
They were privately owned, and that definitely for me is very important. I love to eat, and the fact that we had privately owned restaurants here, and the diverse cuisine that you find here was one of the points in which I said, you know what,
Yeah.
I can do my yoga here, I can eat well,
Uh-huh.
we can walk to the village and have something really nice and charming to look at. So there were several things that really grew on me and make this place to be appealing to me as well.
And as a second home, you can work mobily.
Definitely, and I have been working this week that after we moved in, I have been working home because what I need is just connectivity, and if I need to travel, I can go to Durham and
Right.
travel internationally, so
you
that
go
is
out of,
not an issue.
Out of Raleigh, you wouldn't swing on back to Miami, because isn't that the gateway to South America?
There are several options. Yeah, probably I have to make a layover in Miami, but there are several options. I can go to Dallas,
Yeah.
to Houston.
Yeah.
I have several options, so it is not an issue for me. And traveling from Miami to Durham, it was an hour and a half flight, so
Mm-hmm.
it is not an issue for me. I don't see it as an issue
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah, well, what Felly's talking about is
I didn't know you. I didn't know you called it Felly.
I called her Feli.
I didn't know that.
Feli.
Okay.
How did that start?
Diminutive.
That's we're just we're
Yeah.
Mom.
where would Feli start from? That was
My
your mother.
mom.
That was your mother's name,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My mom
So
and
it's
I
just
share the same
It's just
name.
easy to call her
Oh.
Feli, but everybody calls her Feli at
Yeah.
home.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to start
Well-
calling her Feli.
Yeah, definitely.
Feli, yeah, you call her Feli. That's just Felicita, you know. But Feli is a lot easier for us Americans. Well, you know, with Feli, I duplicated the 2014 experience I had with her in 2015. So we came back
Right.
in 2015. This is how we met.
Right.
I did this, but I was able to play course number 2 and course number 4 in
Right.
2015. So the courses that I missed playing, I was able to play in 2015. And again, we stayed at the Carolina, and that's how we discovered Bill. And we were talking. I didn't know how Felicia was going to actually take.
Right.
You know,
Nor did I.
Yeah.
Nor did I.
I didn't know how she was going to take it.
But now we
it here.
are so glad she's here.
Yeah.
The jury is still out on you, but we're really glad she's here.
Well, I went to go play golf. She went to the spa. So the
That's right.
experience that we had in 2015 was excellent.
Right.
And I do think I remember that we looked at a property.
Yeah.
Somewhere around Pinehurst number 6 neighborhood.
Uh-huh. We looked at a lot.
Several properties, as a
Christian,
matter of fact.
we looked at a lot of properties over a couple of years. And so the experience was not one that was like an immediate thing. It morphed. It went from looking at single-family homes to, at one price point, to then looking at townhomes or condos at a different price point. They actually went forward and they put an offer in on a home. Do you remember in Doral Woods?
I do remember.
And I was flying up to New York that day, and we were on the phone, and it was a multiple offer situation. And he had fallen in love with the home. It didn't work. We didn't get it for whatever reason, and we kind of went back to the drawing board. But some of these experiences don't just happen in a month. Sometimes, it takes a couple of years.
Right.
But you came on at the perfect time because it was after 2 years or at least 2 visits. This was the third or the fourth? I think the third.
Well,
You
after Feli and I came up in 2015
Yeah.
to introduce her to
Yeah.
this area,
And keep
I
your
came
fingers
back
crossed.
a couple of weeks
That's
after
right.
that
That's right.
by myself.
That's right.
And then we looked at the Doral Woods
That's
property,
right.
and I put an offer on that. It was a beautiful home, and a beautiful view of the golf course at the
Right.
Pinehurst number 1 golf course.
That's right.
But like you said, that fell through. And I went home, and you didn't hear from me for a while.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
that and why in the second set. We're going to come back. We're speaking with the Stones, who are new residents of Pinehurst. They are getting acclimated into their new townhouse in the village of Pinehurst, which is truly walking distance to everything. And Christian was more than just a good luck charm. She was. She adds a ton, doesn't she, for someone so young? I mean, just
Definitely.
you probably would have fired me had you just met her.
I don't think so.
But we're going to come back. This is All Things Moore County.
Gets up late for work. In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our house, it has a crack.
Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking with Tom and Felicita Stone, and who just purchased a townhome in the village of Pinehurst, and Christian McCarthy, who worked with us on helping them get from here to there. And Christian, from the time you met Tom and Felicita, you were kind of thrown into the fray right away. Just the three of you. I was out of town, and you only knew them on this last leg of their trip, looking at golf course, properties, condos, second homes, but at the end of the first day, you probably got a really good feel, or a much better feel, about where they might be happy, maybe more so than they even knew at that point in time.
I mean, Tom was very easy to read. He would walk in, look around, okay, let's go. So it wasn't really hard.
Guys are black and white.
Yeah,
huh?
he
We all are.
you would walk in and you would get a feel, or you would look and just be like,
I would
no.
know. I would know right away.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I would see his face, and there was no expression.
Mm-hmm. You looked at me a lot.
I did. Well, when I was trying to read him, you're kind of a hard person to read. But that was it. If you didn't say anything or you didn't have an expression, you were kind of just, you were done, and you would walk right out. I thought sometimes the listings would be 15 minutes to show, and it was like 3 minutes. So then I was like, oh gosh, we are running
way
early.
Way ahead of schedule.
Way ahead of schedule. Because Tom would walk in and be like, oh, it's nice, but not for me, and walk right back out. I feel like Felicita would give every property a chance. She would find the pros, kind of try to look past the cons to see what she could do with it. Tom would, nope, not having it, don't like it, out. So it was interesting. By the end of the day, I was like, okay, I think I can read Tom a little better.
Yeah, I think you can too. The move up here, you own 2 properties in Florida. You have a primary residence and you have a condo?
A condo in Fort Lauderdale.
So you go back and forth between the two, and you're empty nesters. So you have decisions to make. I mean, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Where are you going to spend that time? Where are you going to kind of put down a stake? And I bet you that Tom was kind of impatient a little bit with the process, because he, guys, we're like, we want what we want when we want it. Right? And boom, boom, boom. And if it doesn't all fit, then we get crazy. She's looking at me like I'm crazy. She's looking at me like, where did this guy come from?
But your description is accurate.
Well, we don't process as much information maybe when we make a decision on a property. We look. He knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted to be on a golf course. He knew where he wanted to envision himself being, relaxing, and he wanted something that was not high maintenance. But Christian, what did he wind up? Where did he finally wind up when I say he didn't want anything high maintenance? What happened?
He is in a townhouse that they have to redo.
Almost
completely. Yes. He saw the vision.
Yeah.
And he realized that it was the best choice to make for the price and what they can do with it. And
what was your first impression? Because I remember the day very well. I was sitting in the car. I was on the phone. And the 3 of you walked in to this property, and I said, I'm going to just finish this phone call, and I'll be right in.
Purposely, he made me do it, yes.
What was your first instinct?
My first instinct, again, I knew that Felicita would see what they loved about the other townhouse.
Right.
She would see it in this one, and I knew that Tom was going to see, holy crap, I am not getting into this. Get me out of here.
I'm not doing this, right?
Yeah, I'm not doing this. But he was good, though. What do you think, Tom, when you walked in there for the first time?
Well, if we recall that we were comparing what we eventually bought to another townhome.
Right.
That was turnkey.
It was.
A place where I can bring my golf clubs, and probably this week I'd be on the golf course right now if I wasn't doing a renovation.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So when I walked into this other one that obviously needed work, I was like, you saw it in my face. we described this before. You knew it right away.
Right.
It was like, no way, forget it. No, this is not, get me out of here. And that's exactly what happened. I hit the door and I walked out.
Did you feel the same way?
No, actually, I saw a lot of opportunity to redo our second or third home with the way that we wanted to decorate it. And so I saw actually a lot of vision. And still in my head, we're in the process of renovating our home. But I think that it's going to look really beautiful when all the work is done.
Yeah.
It is.
We always say that sometimes the emotion... See, so people know, they lost out on a multiple offer on this other unit, which was done in a strong Tuscany feel. And it was, as Tom said, it was kind of move-in condition, and you just kind of like look to where do you hang your toothbrush, and let me go hit some balls.
Right.
And that was, and I get that. But there's part of him that also wants to make sure that every nickel that he spends is well placed, and he's not overspending. And we were comparing one to the other, and it just goes against our grain to pay full price.
Right.
And he didn't, and he said, I'm drawing the line. This is it. I'll make my second offer, and they can take it or leave it. And so that's how you kind of wound up back with the renovation project, which now looks a little bit different to you, doesn't it? A little bit.
Yes, I mean, we closed last Wednesday, and then within a few days, we have a lot done.
You really do.
Yeah.
Really do.
If you were in there, Christian, you wouldn't believe the difference. Remember, it was dark and musty.
Right.
Now it's pristine. It's spotless. The air is
Well, they brought life into it.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. It's almost like going back in time and starting again, another stage in your life.
Well, I would say with this property, for me, the jury is still out to a certain degree.
It's okay.
How can I describe this? Like I.
Glass half full.
Yeah. Try it that way.
Well, when we were first originally looking for a place here, I mean, the price points have changed. I mean, this house in Doral Woods was a lot more expensive.
Correct.
And then I think I sent an email to you sometime after that, a year after that already, and I said my price went down to $150.
Right.
I said I'm a cheapskate now. So that's where I started my.
But you also had a health scare. You had not come back here for a while, as you had said at the end of the last set. And did that change your thinking about what you were going to invest here and what you were going to do?
Regarding to the health scare, I would say no.
Okay.
It didn't. I mean, that just came out of, actually, I walked off a golf course and had a heart attack. Right. I mean, I had a stent put in back in 2015, and the stent clogged.
Right.
And then I was at home playing golf and drove myself to the hospital. And instead of going home and ignoring it, I went right to the hospital. I ran a couple of red lights, but I figured if the police were going to chase me, they're going to chase me right to the emergency room.
And that's
so
give you a ticket.
I think I got a second lease on life. I was very lucky. If this would have happened someplace else, I probably won't be talking to anybody right now.
Yeah.
Here. And so it worked out okay.
Yeah.
But I've always had this on my mind. I look on the Realtor.com every day, and they send me what's available up here, and I've been, and I read that every morning. What's for sale? So, and then we came back, and we were at the 150 price point.
That's right.
So, and I gave you a list.
That's right.
Of the properties I wanted to see, and these were mainly the townhouses,
the condos on the golf
courses.
courses.
The brown condos that were on the golf courses.
Number 1, number 3, number 5.
Because originally, Felly and I were like, well, we're going to come back here and buy a house. We need a golf course view. That's it. There's no reason to come back here to Pinehurst if I can't see a golf course.
Right.
Because that's the reason I came here, to play golf.
And he's pretty convincing. So not only did he buy a house that was a renovation project, he bought a townhouse without a golf course.
Yeah, can you believe this?
We could buy him a picture of a golf course and put it over his fireplace.
Well, I'm starting to learn one thing. You get in your car every day and you drive around, you see a golf course.
That's right.
That's true.
Everywhere.
That's
that
right.
is true.
So.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing with Felly was she pushed this.
The
location because the walk to the village, and it's 2 minutes to Holly Inn, and
That's right.
3 minutes to to the other parts of the
village or
village, and
anywhere.
it's very convenient. And now we like to walk, and that's what we did. And so.
And you had I think overall you had a very good loan experience. You were in a position where you didn't have to borrow money to purchase. You made a decision that you were going to take a small loan. And in hindsight, since it was such a small amount, it was a lot of work. It's the same as if you were borrowing $300,000. The process got you a little bit at the beginning, but you sort of came around, and Laura Glaspie, I thought, did a great job on your behalf.
Yeah, I had one meltdown, semi meltdown, when it came to the paperwork, and we were talking to Laura also,
Yep.
and it seems there's a lot more paperwork you have to give the older you are and the more assets you have. They want to see more.
I don't know if it's a function of age anymore as much as it is a function of lender requirements. Things have changed a lot since 2008. But yes, I mean, yours were probably more complicated where you were in your life than maybe some of the first-time buyers.
Yeah, it was a big paperwork process. I mean,
Sure was.
If you had any type of investments or anything, they wanted to see the 40-page document of a certain month, and they want 3 months of it. So until I figured out how to download PDF files,
Right.
Once I was able to do that, I was able to send Laura everything.
Right.
But that's just the way I am. But I sent her probably about 50 separate emails. But if she asked for this, I wouldn't group all the emails into one. I would send it to her separately.
Right.
It's like me doing this house
Right.
renovation.
Right.
Paint this room. When you're done painting that room,
Right.
let's move on to the next thing.
Right.
I'm not a big
Multitasker.
multitasker. I like to see
He's not.
a completion of something,
I
and
am.
then we move on to the next thing.
Right.
But for me, once I figured out the PDF files, and actually it wasn't that difficult for me. It was very easily.
Yeah. And then he threw one more thing at us, Christian, in starting the contract and the loan process. Then he said, by the way, Felicita and I are going to be taking a cruise. We're going to go to Italy, Greece, France, Spain, and we'll be back in about 3 weeks. So they'll come back 5 days before closing, which only gave the lender, I think, a little less than 2 weeks to get everything together, just to add a little bit more sizzle to the.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what. Well, we had this vacation and our cruise planned before we came to North Carolina.
That's right.
So
That is true.
yeah, to look again for a house, and so that was planned, and that was in August, and that came and we went.
Yeah.
Okay, and
But somehow the confidence that the entire team gave us made us relax during our holiday.
But before I left, I was able to get Laura everything she needed.
Yeah.
It was just maybe an item or two after we returned that she needed, but everything was done. I got it. She was actually a little worried because she sent you an email. I haven't heard from the Stones. I don't know where they're at, and I'm sitting back saying, "I got this."
So right, but you want that. You know what? In our business,
Yeah.
Christian,
Yes.
you want that from the lender. You want her to be an overseer
Right.
and keep us in the loop because we have to all kind of like police the situation.
And at the end, it worked out because at one point when we came back, she wasn't sure if we were going to be able to close on
Right.
August 30th. But she did her magic, and she was able to bring everything together and everybody together, and now we have a new home.
Yeah, we're going to come back in the third set. We're speaking with Tom and Felicita Stone and real estate broker Christian McCarthy. This is All Things Moore County.
In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our
No, there are a lot of people who have different. We're back, by the way. All Things Moore County. We're just talking about the difference between purchasing something move-in ready versus something that has needs some sweat equity, but gives you a little bit of reason to do it in your own vision and enhance the value and create a little bit of instant equity. I have to tell you, on the multiple offer on the first townhome that they lost, they were probably short about $6,000 versus the other offer. And when we found out, I guess just 2 or 3 days before you closed, that the other property went under contract and closed at full price, and yours, you were able to purchase your property, let me make sure I have this correct, at $8,000 below the appraised value, and because of the condition of the home, it was significantly lower, to the tune of about 30. There was like about a $32,000 or $33,000 difference in identical
Unit.
dwellings.
Yeah.
And that kind of made you feel good, Tom. Except you still had to. You couldn't just hang your golf clubs and go hit balls.
If you look at numbers, yeah,
Yeah.
it does make you feel good.
Very
If you
good.
look at that I have to renovate this place.
Guess who's going to? I think. So we introduced you guys to Francie Thompson from Total House.
Yes, and she's been helping us from day one.
Right. And if Francie got together with Felicita, you and I can go hit balls. We could go out and we could work on our short game.
I didn't bring my golf clubs up this time, but next time.
He wasn't
I'm
prepared
coming up.
because he could have very well be playing golf today, because thank goodness also something that is very valuable is that we have gotten the right resources to
Yeah.
help us
Right.
with the renovation. We have our handyman, our decorator.
Yeah.
So it's a full, you did not only purchase a home, but also got
A
a set
team
of
of-
resources
Yeah.
that is helping us. And to tell you the truth, it's true that Tom is fixing a couple of things, but somebody else is
Is
doing
Tom
the heavy
really
work.
fixing things?
I replaced a couple
Actually.
electrical outlet
That's
plates.
what he did. And a little bit of cleaning.
You know, it's a small world. Christian, your parents are building a house and
Yes.
have been working with Francie Thompson from Total House as well.
Yes, and they absolutely adore her.
Yeah.
Before they start the process, I know my parents obviously very well. I knew my mom could get a little overwhelmed.
You've
with
known them all your life,
Yeah, my
right?
whole life. She can get overwhelmed pretty quickly. I mean, building a house is very overwhelming.
Right.
So I introduced them to Francie, and like I said before, I was a little nervous because my dad had a take charge type personality, and Francie's very good at what she does, and she's kind of a take charge personality. But my dad just fell in love with her because she's just so good at what she does, and she's so easy to work with.
Right.
And she's easy to work with. And what I mean is, if you say I don't like that, or it's not my my design, or I don't like it, she's like, oh, okay, no problem,
move
we'll move
on.
on. You know, she doesn't push things in your face. or
She'll
make you feel-
execute what you
right.
want.
She really will give you what you want and help you, which is a big thing.
Yeah, we found out with her the same thing with her too.
Right.
The same thing. You know, she says, well, this bathroom tile. Oh, if you don't like it, she doesn't take it personal. Or
No, yeah,
anything.
exactly.
She
It's
just,
not
okay, well, let's find
personal.
something else. You know.
Right. It's her mission to make you happy off
Yeah.
of your vision. She's
Yeah.
just helping you get there.
And that showroom of hers is that's pretty heady stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I don't know
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
I can stay there. I can go just to see the new.
It's a little overwhelming.
materials that
It's a
she's
little
using.
overwhelming for me. I don't want to see any of this stuff. I'm
I
I told Felicia, I said,
I
you
know.
know what?
What a surprise.
I renovate, fix the place, and I'm going back to Florida. And call me when it's ready.
And for me, it's like a candy store.
Right.
Yeah, because I go and start looking through the samples, and I'm like, oh my God, so many things that you can pick from.
You know what's great about you guys? You are plenty young. You are new empty nesters. There's so many chapters in your life that you get to live. No, truly. And you finish your book, and you have many, many, many chapters. And you guys are... you're living in a couple of different chapters right now, but here in Pinehurst, you're getting to start a new one. And the long-term vision is great, and the memory of this renovation will long be gone when you are done and you walk in and you go, you know what, it all worked out. We like happy endings. And we like surrounding good people with good people like on our team, Christian.
Right.
You see you've seen the value of that firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of crossover because you're parents and we all have good taste.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
The one thing I have to mention to you, we had a conversation before the show, and I just want to go back real quickly to the lending process. When Christian and her husband, Brendan, purchased a home, your brother-in-law is a lender, but your husband is like on a 10-point scale of being organized. We would start him at 15 and go from there, right? So when a lender says to your husband, you know, we need all this documentation in 4 days or whatever, you know it's going to be taken care of.
That day.
Well, what happens, but you've seen the difference that not everybody is like your husband.
Right. It makes a huge difference. I've kind of learned the hard way.
Yeah.
It just makes the process a lot more stressful when Laura is begging, like one of my clients right now.
Let's
begging
talk about
them
it.
To
First-time buyers.
And
you told them the same thing?
Right. And I told them just give her the documents that she needs. It can go very smoothly. I really didn't think too much past that because of my experience with my husband. I just assumed that everybody was like that. And I have learned that people are not.
That's not the case.
And I guess and since I didn't handle a lot of the process with the loan, my husband did. So I was kind of in the background. And I didn't realize that people can take it almost like a personal, like, why do you want to know every detail of where my money is, or where is it, why? And they actually felt he felt very violated, I feel like.
Yeah, it can be an invasive process to a lot of people. First-time buyers who've never done it. And Tom, who's not a first-time buyer, but maybe he hasn't purchased a property or borrowed money in 15 or 20 years.
Right.
He's not used to it.
Right.
Well, I found it was an interesting process, and it was a refresher for me. Yes, we've bought other proproperties too, but I learned a heck of a lot also through this process.
Right. So you can imagine a first-time buyer, and they just are like, whoa.
Yeah, if I can give any advice to a first-time buyer or buyer, get your paperwork in order. Know where everything is at. Get all your documents. I mean, everything.
Laura Glaspie is going to shoot a video of you now and put it on her website. Southern Trust Mortgage. Wow. You've become a convert.
But another thing is that if they don't understand what she's asking for, all you have to do is call her up and say, I don't understand. What exactly are you asking for? What exactly do you need? But with first-time buyers, like they get very nervous. They don't want to. I'm not exactly sure. I'm still learning exactly the thought process.
Yeah, I think it may sound overwhelming more than what it really is because it's just a collection of information that you have at your fingertips.
That's right.
That's what it is. But it was, I think, more cumbersome to return it because we are not ready 100% yet on making everything flawless with technology. But in general, it's just trying to... It sounds more overwhelming than what really is my opinion.
Well, when I was going through the paperwork, I took out my laptop and I put my printer right next to the laptop, and I was plugging it in and out and scanning documents and get yourself a good scanner.
Right. Oh, I know.
And then save your documents to your desktop and then create a file on your desktop with all those documents. So you can have one file, but within that file there's like 50 different documents. But to keep it just for yourself is very, very good. And you know what? There was a lot of things that she doesn't even know about that I had.
Right.
That I didn't present to her.
Right.
Okay. Because what I had was enough, and and she was satisfied. And for me, I thought it was a fun process.
Doesn't he sound like somebody who would be a candidate for getting his real estate license? Getting a little bit involved in here in the business. When you come back, when are you guys going to come back? After the kitchen is done? After Francie finishes the kitchen?
Well,
when it's perfect.
you know, I'm really not sure.
Yeah.
We are scheduled to go home on Friday.
Yep.
And if everybody's watching the news, Hurricane Irma
Yeah.
has set its sights on our home
Yeah.
and South Florida.
Yeah.
So we are very concerned and nervous about this because I've been through several hurricanes and they are not a pleasant experience to go through. So if it's a direct hit, who knows? These things move. They go opposite directions. They go. But I'm extremely nervous right now, so we are going home. I don't know what we're going to expect or what we're going to get ourselves into, but I know one thing: we can get in the car and come back here because we have a home.
That's right, you
the
do.
show.
And we are actually taping this show early. By the time this show airs, the hurricane will have come and gone. We all hope it was not terrible news. But the reason we're doing it is because of anticipation of next week
The storm.
maybe being difficult. So we don't know. But, you know, Thanksgiving, the holidays are a great time to be here in Pinehurst. It's beautiful. The weather is great. It's invigorating. The days are bright. The evenings are chilly, but the days you're wearing a sweater. It's New England.
Right.
Just more temperate. That was a great way to put it, actually.
Yeah. And what are we going to do?
You're going to join the Pinehurst Newcomers Club.
Okay.
You're going to meet a lot of people here, and there's a ton of activity, and you don't have to be a golfer to get involved. I mean, that's one thing you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, so we're kicking around. When are we coming back? How much time are we
Yeah.
going to spend here?
Yeah.
These are a lot of questions we haven't answered right now. But this is our second home. Florida is still our first home.
Right.
And the winters in Florida, I'm sorry, everyone, but the winters in Florida are wonderful.
Yeah,
January, February, March,
that's right.
April.
That's right.
We love it down there.
Sure.
When you send down those cold fronts down to us,
Yeah.
and they push through Florida,
Yeah,
we love it.
yeah.
You know.
It's
so
nice.
I'm not sure if we're going to spend all our time here.
In the week that you've been here, you've eaten at a lot of different restaurants in the village. You've really gotten around a lot more than most people in such a short period of time.
Yeah, so we've tried out several restaurants, and I'm a firm believer where you live, I think you should support
Right,
the local businesses.
right.
And, you know, the village has that charm. I mean, it doesn't have a commercial, and because in Florida we're used to the, you know, the commercial and
The big chains.
the big chain
Yeah.
places. And here it's just totally different.
Right.
I don't know what they call them here, but to me these are mom and pop restaurants where mom and pop.
Locally owned businesses,
Yeah.
and but with a reputation and with
Right.
legs.
I mean,
Yes.
you know, there's no Starbucks in the village, but there's a coffee house.
Right.
But,
Isn't that a cool coffee house?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but we prefer that. But
Right.
we also prefer, like Feli said earlier, we like to eat in good restaurants. We like good food.
Right.
And so we're continually exploring, and we're going to find all the restaurants because I hear there's a lot of them here
Yeah.
to try.
They even went up to Seagrove the other day
Oh.
for a pottery shopping.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're just trying to get out and get acquainted with as much of the area as possible. Because the next time he comes, he's bringing his clubs. And at that moment in time, they're going to have split responsibilities and split activities, right? But the honeymoon's been good while it's lasted.
Very good. Very
Right.
good.
Well, you know, as a golfer, I play a couple times a week.
Yeah,
That's enough for me.
yeah,
But the rest of the time, I want both of us to be happy here and enjoy
Yeah.
ourselves, and
yeah.
you know, and I want Feli to be happy.
Well, she wants you to be happy.
I am
But,
happy if
vice
he's happy.
versa, because
Yeah,
I want
yes.
it for her also, because like I said earlier, I wasn't sure how she would take
Right.
here. I mean, Philly comes from a different country. She comes from a big city, And and we're both used to that environment. We live in Miami, and it's a whole different world than here. But
I love it so far. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure working with you guys. It's been a pleasure that Christian and I could work with you on the final leg of your 3 trips, because it's been good for you. And
yes, they were wonderful.
But you were wonderful too. You
super wonderful.
Yeah,
she closed.
You were. You were great. You have a great way about you. You really do. You're a pleasure to work with, and so I'm glad you could join us today.
Yes.
And I hope to see you guys maybe before Thanksgiving.
We hope so. And I just want to extend our thanks to both of you also.
Yeah.
For properties and to both of you personally. That the experience has been great, and it's been a number of years, but we did it. Right?
Yeah.
See that what he just said makes everything we do so worthwhile.
Right.
When you are with people and you like them and you are able to put them together with circles of your team, you form relationships. It goes way beyond the sale of a home. It's just an assist, and it's a partnership, and it gets to culminate in something like this.
Right.
You can be back here many times. You'll be bumping me from this chair in about 2 years. And Bill, we don't need you anymore. Felicita, thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Tom
Thank
Stone,
you, guys.
you were great. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
And Christian, we'll see you down the road, I know.
Yes.
Everybody have a great week. Thank you.
Our house